This demonstration is mainly oriented towards simulation. So the title is also speaking mainly on simulation. Don't violate, validate it here, which means uh, don't violate the validation process, because we have seen in many industries they are paying more attention only towards the design, neglecting the validation. And these guys, hello, guys, mute yourself. Yeah. So we have seen that in many industries, they're paying attention only towards their design aspects, but they are leaving the validation process. So if you validate your designs, it might cost some lives. Like you can save some lives. So that is the main agenda of this presentation. So let me move forward. So let me first introduce myself. I am Harikiran, working in Logical Solutions as an applications engineer in CAD, CAM and CAE departments. I am certified as an expert in CAD and professional in various things which we use in industries such as sheet metal, weldments, mold tools, surfacing, drawing tools, simulation, etc. So without further delay, let us have a look at today's agenda. Starting with introduction, we'll see how SolidWorks products will help us in design process, what are the benefits we get with SolidWorks 3D CAD, and what is simulation, and we will see hands-on demonstration session on few of the products. So coming to our company Logical Solutions, Logical Solutions is established in the year 2000. From then, it has received so many awards in its journey towards success. Back then, we were only 4 core people when we started the company, but now we have 50 plus employees working for us collectively. We personally sold licenses to 450 plus customers. In them, 1050 plus licenses are towards private sectors, 6500 plus licenses are towards educational sectors, that is engineering colleges, universities, etc. We provide end-to-end industrial experience in CAD, CAM and CAE departments. We provide services to our customers as well as take projects also. So generally, if we see in any industry, the development process would be stepwise process. So initially, they will start with primary projects and concepts. So conceptual design will be started. So from that, they will develop the mechanical design in one particular software. And if there is any requirement of electrical for that mechanical aspect, they will do that in other softwares. So same is the case with design validation and technical communication. They do these things in other softwares. So if there is any revision suddenly, then they have to go again back to that mechanical. They have to make some changes in that, and again come to electrical, make some changes. So there are actually lacking integration between them. So we SolidWorks provide an integrated solutions to this, wherein a user gets to learn only one user interface. He'll get familiar with only one user interface, and everything like mechanical design, electrical design, design validation, technical communication, everything under one platform and integrated platform, so that if there are any revisions also, you don't need to go from the beginning and make changes. Everything is updated. So if you change anything in mechanical, it gets updated in electrical as well. So finally, with these things, we can reduce the time of reachability of the product to the customer and reduce the cost and increase the quality of the product. Hence, therefore, scope for innovation. There is a scope for innovation. So every industry doesn't use all the solutions. So that is the reason we have segregated our products into these. So as you can see, starting with 3D CAD. So in 3D CAD, we have basic SolidWorks, where we can design the components over there. In simulation, we have structural analysis, CFD, computational flow dynamics, and plastics flow. In electrical, we have 2D and 3D schematic. where we can create in 3D schematic. We can create wiring, routing, electrical conduits. We can create all those things in electrical. And coming to technical communication. Technical communication is finally when your product is done and there is marketing. So at that point of time, for non-technical users to understand how these components are assembled and disassembled, we are going to make brochures, manuals, service repair manuals, assembling and disassembling manuals. Okay, and if any industry is oriented only towards one product and is keen to showcase the abilities of that product, so for marketing we have visualization. So you can create great content in visualization, 4K images, all those things you can create very well using visualize software. And definitely if you are a very big organization, you can make use of product data management, the legacy data which comes from so many years. You can manage the data using product data management. You can create revisions of the same data in future also using product data management. And computer aided manufacturing is now embedded with 3D CAD. That means whatever you design in 3D, you can create NC codes straight away in a CAM program which is now integrated. So directly by getting that NC program, you can input it to the 3D, the CAM, the 3-axis, 4-axis, 5-axis CAMs, and straight away get the result. So we are going to keep our focus only on 3D CAD and simulation in this session, and not discussing much about the electrical, technical, all those things. We are going to keep our focus only on mainly on simulation. So let me give a small glimpse on what are the advantages you get in 3D CAD. So coming to SolidWorks part designing, before even going to manufacturing phase, you can create entire the 3D part. You can color it, you can add material to the part, so you can get the mass of the part, such as you can get the meta properties such as the surface area of the part, the mass of the part, and before even going to the manufacturing phase, you are doing all these things. So you can visualize a part in the SolidWorks, and you can reduce the visual errors in them. Okay, so once your part design is complete, 80% of your work is done, and you will get to detail the parts. Now in SolidWorks drawings, it is very easy to create drawings in SolidWorks by taking advantage of automatic view creations, automatic dimensioning, automatic arrangement of the dimensioning. Okay, you don't need to do anything. SolidWorks will do everything for you. And once the part design is completed, you'll move ahead with the assembly design. So in assembly design, you can properly see how your assembly is functioning. You can create assembling and disassembling videos. Okay, and if there are any interferences between your assemblies, you can check for that. So there is a lot of scope of reducing the errors in assembly design. So once your assembly design is complete, you'll go to detail the assemblies. So when it comes to detailing the assemblies, you can take advantage of automatic bill of material generation, automatic ballooning, as you can see in the image, automatic ballooning. So it reduces a lot of time. And finally, for managers to interact with the designers, we have e-drawings. So it is not compulsory that every manager should have SolidWorks within a system. So you can just have e-drawings application. With this, he can actually review all the SolidWorks native files within the e-drawings. He can create revisions. He can mark up wherever he wants to change, and again revert it back to the designer. So it acts as an effective communication tool and breaks the barrier and the barrier of communication between adds in the barrier of communication between manager and designers. So these are the advantages you can get in any 3D software, but SolidWorks also adds some more advantages to it. So let me move on. So So these are some more advantages you'll get with SolidWorks, such as design automation. So once your design is completed, let us suppose your assembly is completed, you can automate your design using Excel tables in SolidWorks. So you can automate them, design automation. And as you all know that SolidWorks is a software which is compatible with Microsoft. You can also have macros recorded in SolidWorks and use API macro customization. So for the customized utility you want, you can create a macro and use it for such purposes. And cost estimation, so you can evaluate the entire cost of your product with the help of the material cost and manufacturing cost on the shop floor working hours. And 3D interconnect, 3D interconnect actually plays as a bridge between SolidWorks and other 3D softwares. So if you are actually a customer of another 3D software and willing to come into SolidWorks family, you can use 3D interconnect, which will actually act as a bridge between other softwares and our software. So you can straight away make changes on the products which you have already designed in other softwares. You can make use of this. And ECAD and MCAD collaboration, electronic CAD and mechanical CAD collaboration. You have something called as CircuitWorks, which will collaborate with electrical CAD and mechanical CAD. And you also have integrated piping, tubing, and electrical wiring in SolidWorks. So for whatever designing tasks you are doing, you can include piping, tubing, and electrical wiring also in SolidWorks. And design standard checker. So if you are very strict with design aspects, so if you are working in an industry where it has its own standards, you can check your designs whether it is meeting your standards or not with design standard checker tool in SolidWorks. You can create beautiful animations and renderings in SolidWorks. Task scheduler. So if you have any repeating task, like you want to convert a SolidWorks part to send a customer into an STL file. So you have thousands of components. So you can run task scheduler on non-productive hours. That means if you want this task to be done tomorrow, once your office hours are completed, you set up a task scheduler, and once you come tomorrow, your task will be completed. So that is the use of task scheduler. You can take advantage of task scheduler in such type of crucial situations. And standard toolbox library. With toolbox in SolidWorks, you can get access to over 1 million standards of components, that is nuts, bolts, and fasteners within the SolidWorks pre-designed. Okay. You can take advantage of the interference detection. As I told you, if there are any components interfering, you can view them and you can rectify them. You can conduct motion analysis. So if you have any moving components in the assemblies, you can check the acceleration or the velocity with respect to the time. You can check the torque required for the motor. All such type of things you can do and perform well in motion analysis of an assemblies, and so on. We have so many things. So now we will completely talk about the simulation. So when it comes to simulation, the main important question which arises in our mind is, what is finite element analysis? So let me give a small example over here. So I think everyone is able to see this screen. So if a person needs to travel from his home to a mailbox to deliver a mail, and wonders what is the distance I should travel. So how does he actually do it? He actually divides its path, which is in curved manner, into line segments, and he measures the individual length of the lines. So that is the same approach which we follow in the finite element analysis also. So this is a process, step-by-step process, which goes into the finite element analysis. So before even starting finite element analysis, we have to prepare the model so that it is simple. So we have to remove unnecessary things on the model, such as fillets, wherever unnecessary, because if you remove the fillets, unnecessary things, your solving capability will be much simpler. Okay, once you simplify the geometry and prepare it for the mathematical modeling. So when I say mathematical modeling over here, we are defining initially what is the type of analysis. Okay, and we are applying material properties. Material property is one of the most crucial thing in analysis, based on which you will get results populated. And supports also, supports, you'll apply supports and loads resembling the real life scenario. So you cannot completely analyze all the things in softwares. You have to simplify the geometry. You have to assume it, and then apply the loads in such a way that it looks as if it resembles the real life scenario. And finally, break down it into small pieces of chunks. So that process is called as discretization. So we also call it as a meshing. So you can see now, after meshing, you'll run the solver, run the study, then you'll get the results. As you can see, with different colors, you'll get the stress, the strain, and the deformation plots, with which you will compare it with the results. Okay, this is a general process in any FEA. Okay, so here I would like to take an example. So you can see that this is a crank rod, which will be I think most of you have seen this in bicycles. So this is a bicycling crank rod pedal. So on this we are going to conduct a structural analysis and see where is the vulnerable positions, and calculate the lifetime of usage of this bicycle crank. Okay. So we are actually taking an example of 3 variations of cranks. As you can see, the first one, second one, and the third one, and experiment on these things and come to a conclusion in the end which crank will actually last longer. Okay. So when it comes to analyzing the crank, durability may be a problem, which means you see other companies will give warranties, 1 year warranty, 2 year warranty, 3 year warranty. How can they do that? So they will do based on this. So with this, you can see a graph over here down, which is plotted versus material strength and number of cycles. So as you can see the curve, you can easily say that the material strength over a period of time will be reduced. Okay, so that is a number of cycles, that is a time span. So let us move ahead. So the assumptions which I am making it over here is it must last at least 10,000 cycles, and the load which I am putting on it is 1350 newtons, in other ways 300 pounds on the pedal. Okay, let us move on to the SolidWorks environment, and let me show you how these things are actually done. Okay. So let me open that component. So this is a crank rod which I told you. So there are actually 3 variations of it. Let me show you. So crank design 1, crank design 2, and crank design 3. So currently we are using crank design 2. So this is a crank design. So let me set up a study. For setting up the study, you need to go to the simulation tab. So before this, you need to add in simulation. So as I have already added the simulation, so I'm setting up a new study now. So when I set up a new study, I will select static and click OK. Now you can see in the bottom, you can see there is static. So I've already done the static analysis and the fatigue analysis. Now I'm just showing you how these things are done. So the first thing is that you have to apply a material. So I'll right click this and apply a material. Now I'll get a window popped up over here. Now this is very important because in the simulation phase, material plays a crucial role. And here you can see some things are in red and some things are in blue. So things which are in red are very crucial for static study. You need to understand this static study. So these things, mass density, yield strength is the most important thing in the static study. So we'll apply this. Okay, I will apply and close. But let me show you in the static study which I've already done, what are the materials I have given. So for the pedal, I have given a custom user defined material, and for the crank, let me open. So this is the crank and this is the hub of the crank. Okay, so for these two things you can see in the brackets. For the crank, I have taken 6061 T6 aluminum alloy material. The reason why I took this material is that it is very light material, and it is very strong material which is used in aeronautical industries. Okay, and for the hub I have taken chromium molybdenum. Okay, so now I'll just right click on this. I'll just copy this. Simply, if you're doing another new study, you can just right click on this again and paste it. So what I have done is I have just copied from that study and pasted in this study, so that all the materials have been copied in this study. Okay, so similarly I need to set the contacts. So what are the contacts? This complete thing is not a thing. This pedal will be rotating, so I need to set a contact. So I'll right click, load interactions. I'll use automatic find interactions. So between these two components, and find local interactions. So this is the local interaction. So I'll set it as free, because this will be rotating. I'll click OK. So let me do it again. Local interactions. I'll select this face. I'll just right click over here. Okay, these two face. Okay, now you can see the local interaction under the connections. So you need to set how these things are connected, because this is an assembly. Okay, so now we have to set up the fixtures, how this in real life will be fixed. So we'll select a fixed and choose a fixed hinge. You can see in the animation, which is very little bit smaller, fixed hinge will act as a hinge, like a door hinge, because I'll give this to this surface, because you know that bicycle at this location it will rotate. That is the reason why I have given fixed hinge. I'll click OK. And now for these regions, I'll select these things. I have given on cylindrical faces. I'll tell you why I have given that. So here I have options of translation. See, this will not increase. Okay, and this will not rotate as well, because it is a bolted connection. Okay, this will not move linearly. You can see in the animation. See, when I set it as above axially, it will not move up and down. Okay, when the arrow is this one, when I choose this arrow, it will not increase. See, just now like this, it will not increase. Okay, so that is the reason why I have given that fixtures. So after I give this fixtures, now is the time to apply the force. So I'll select these two faces, and you can experiment it with these two things, SI and English. So if I get English, I can apply pounds. So I'll use SI and I'll apply newtons, 1350 newtons, and make sure it is total, because it should be totally acting on this pedal. So I'll click OK. Once this is done, I'll now it is the time to mesh this component. So when I mesh these components, at some critical areas you need to apply mesh control. The mesh should be very fine. So I already did this in this study. Let me show you. So you can see the mesh control. So at this location in the graphic user interface, you can see. These are the locations where I'm thinking that they are the hotspot for stress concentrations. Okay, so this is the entire pedal, you can see here, entire pedal, and these regions. So similarly, how we have copied the materials, we'll just right click this, copy the mesh thing, and for the new study, we'll just right click on this mesh and paste it. Okay, now after doing all these things, our model is mathematically defined, completely defined, and now we have to run the study. Okay, so let's run this study. It will take time based on the element and node size of element size of the mesh. Okay, give it some time, it is solving. So once this is solved, you'll get these results: stress, displacement, and factor of safety results. So in stress results, you can see the maximum stress is over here, 195.9. Okay, this is in megapascals. You can see in the leader here on the right side, you can see megapascals. So if I see the material again and see the yield strength. Okay, so it is well below the yield strength. So on the basis of stress results, you can say that this part is safe. Okay, so if you see the displacement, this is the maximum displacement. 3.2 mm is the maximum displacement. You can also animate it. Okay, you can also animate this. If you want to see the grain structure, I mean the mesh, you can just right click on this and show the mesh. You can easily see these things. Okay, if you want to see it as a discrete, okay, these values will narrow down the solution. Okay, and definitely the factor of safety. Finally, the factor of safety, you can see the minimum factor of safety is 1.19, which is well above 1, which means our component is sustained in static. But we need to find out the lifetime of this component. So for that, what we will do, we will apply cyclic loads on this. So that analysis is called as fatigue analysis. So for that, what you will do is you need to go to new study. So here down you have fatigue. So under fatigue you have various things. So first thing is the constant amplitude. Second thing is the variable amplitude. Third thing is harmonic fatigue. And the last thing is the random vibration fatigue. So for this, we will keep it to constant amplitude and click OK. Okay. Now you need to define the event. Okay. How many cycles you want to sustain. So I'm giving 10,000 cycles. So here in the drop down, you will see full reversed LR is equal to -1, zero based LR is equal to 0, loading ratio, finding cycle peaks. So LR is actually loading ratio. So when you define an event, when it is fully reversed, it means in X and Y positive and negative directions, the load will be oscillating. Okay, in X and Y positive and negative directions, the load will be oscillating. When the so we will choose fully reversed LR is equal to -1 and click OK. These are the actually conditions. See, fully reversed LR is equal to -1 and zero based LR is equal to 0 are conditions. But if you want your own loading ratio, you can just give your own loading ratio. But because I know that the loading, I'm checking only for the fully reversed LR is equal to -1. Okay. So what it does is it applies the load from 0 to the load which I gave, that is 1350 newtons are there. No? From 0 to 1350 newtons, it will actually keep on applying. If you give your own loading ratio, you mean that okay, from 0 it will not start, it will start from 10. From 10 onwards, it will start till 1350 newtons. So that is a ratio. You need to calculate that, and that will be the ratio. Okay. So after I give this, so you can you know that these things are the constant amplitude which I have selected. I've told when I have given the fatigue study, constant amplitude. So constant amplitude will take its values from alternating stress, alternating stresses and mean stresses and the number of cycles. Okay, it is defined by alternating stresses, the mean stresses, and the number of cycles. So that is the reason why we have created a static study initially. So you can keep that static study linear or non-linear method. That is your wish. So I'm choosing an equivalent stress, von Mises stress, and choosing Gerber mean stress correction theory. And here is the reduction fraction, kf factor is also over here, and infinite life. So infinite life is these many cycles. So these many cycles, if it is sustaining, it is infinite life. Okay, so I'll click OK. And now if I see to the properties of the materials, so you can see in SolidWorks material library, for all the materials you can see SN is over here, bracket, in bracket SN here is here. So for materials which have SN, you can get SN values, stress versus the number of cycles. Okay, so these are actually completely experimental values. If you have your own experimental values for your materials, you can give up to 10 values here. You can predefine it, but within SolidWorks we already have for some materials. So that is the reason why I'm using 6061 T6 aluminum alloy. So here you can see what is the ratio you want: -1, -2, -3, -4. These things. Okay. So in the preview, you can see how this curve is actually coming. Okay, fatigue SN curves. You can see you can see over here. Okay, so I'll keep it this to one event. You can see I've used a fully reversed LR is equal to 1 and 10,000 cycles. Now I will run this study. Okay, now I got two plots. On basis of this, I will judge the life cycle of this component. So the first plot I got is damage plot, and the second plot I got is life plot. So in the damage, it will show you where is the main damage concentrated regions. So I'll show you. So this is the so with fatigue analysis, you can define the crack initiation. So where will be the crack initiated? It will be initiated at this location, and you can see this is 2.778 into 10 to the power of 1 damage percentage. So you can see the damage will start from this, and if I move on to the life of this component, let me make some changes over here. So you can see the minimum region. The minimum region. Let me remove this confusion that is e power 4, all these things. So I'll move it from scientific to floating and click OK. Now you can see at this location where we found out that the damage is more. Okay, more likely to happen. It is sustaining about 36,000 cycles. Okay, which is way within the limit. We have checked it for 10,000 cycles, but it is having 36,000 cycles. And the rest of the region, you can see the maximum value as well. The rest of the region, if you're not kind of satisfied with this, you can go to manually inspect these results. You can go here, select a probe and select the location. So at this location, you can see the number of cycles. It is very huge. Okay, means that it means that these many cycles it will sustain. Okay, so only at the vulnerable location, it will sustain for 36,000 cycles. That too, if you see the factor of safety in the static study, if you see the factor of safety, 1.5 times. Let us see the minimum location. So show minimum. Okay, minimum is over here. Our intention is to see factor of safety over here. So we'll just take a probe and plot it at this. So at this location, the factor of safety is 1.43 times. That is the load which we are applying. That is 1350 newtons. So multiplied by the factor of safety and 36,000 cycles, it will sustain. So that is the thing. So all this result, for better clarity, I have plotted these things in the presentation. Let me show you the results. So for the design one, so just now what we did is for the design number 2, and due to time constraint, I've just put the values of this design number 1. Okay, so design number 1 is this is a little bit different from what we have seen right now, the model. So for this, if I conduct the structural analysis, the values I got is the maximum stress in megapascals 215. The factor of safety is 1.28. It's good. Maximum deflection is 4.3 mm. Okay, we'll see the durability of it. In other words, the fatigue plot of it. So the fatigue plot of that component, that crank rod is having minimum value at this location, 2263, which is very less than 10,000 cycles. So clearly this is a fail. So when it comes to design number 2, which we just did, these are the stress results for it. Maximum stress 198, minimum factor of safety is 1.4, maximum deflection is 3.5 mm. Okay, and the durability for the design number 2, in other words, the fatigue plot, it is minimum 36,000 cycles at that vulnerable location, and it is very big than 10,000 cycles. Okay, but the region, you can see the region which is in blue color, and you can see compare the chart on the right side. The region which is in the blue color, which is it is very high, so you can sustain on this. Okay, so for the design number 3, if I take the fatigue plot, so you can see 3,960 cycles at that location, which is very less, and the crack initiation according to the fatigue plot will be started over there, because in the damage plot that location is vulnerable and it will sustain only 3,960 cycles, which is very less than 10,000 cycles. Okay, but rest of the region is way within that, but we are concerned about that region. Okay, it is very less than 10,000 cycles, and if I summarize those results for design 1, design 2 and design 3, you can see clearly that the first design, it is less than 10,000 cycle, second design is greater than 10,000, third design is less than 10,000 cycle, which clearly states that the second design will last for longer period. So with the stress results and the fatigue plot, we came to a conclusion that the second design will sustain a lot, and it will have longer period of time. It will work for a long period of time. So we will move on with the flow simulation. But before this, I'd like to share some details with you. So we have actually 3 packages of simulation with us: simulation standard, simulation professional and simulation premium. With simulation standard, we can do static studies, and motion analysis. In motion analysis, you can get detailed analysis of what component is moving, what is reactions, what is the reaction of that component related to another component. In simulation professional, we can see frequency buckling. So you can do buckling with respect to the thermal loads as well as the structural loads. The fatigue, optimization of the design, thermal analysis, drop test analysis, pressure vessel analysis with simulation professional. With simulation premium, you have non-linear analysis in static. So in standard, you can only do linear static analysis, but with premium simulation, you can do non-linear static analysis, okay, composite analysis, and advanced dynamics analysis. Okay. So we'll move on with the flow simulation. So here I am taking an example of heat emitting PCB enclosure, okay, to design a better cooling system. So our main intention is towards these heat sinks. So under that heat sink is my CPU, or else which is connected to a heat emitting thing, heat sinks. So that temperature should be below 105 degrees Celsius. Okay, it should be below, because if there is a lot of heat within the PCB, it might damage not only the PCB but also other components. So the solution is that we need to remove heat within the enclosure with the help of a fan. Okay, that is the main motive to this. So we need to see which design is better, one fan or two fan. So before this, let me open SolidWorks and show you. Let me close this. Let me open SolidWorks and my assembly. So this is an assembly. Let me show you this component also is completely actually enclosed. Okay, it is completely enclosed. It is completely enclosed, and we have a few of the components over here: the transformers, the capacitors, the resistors, the PCB board itself, the fan, and some connections over here. And of course, we have vents over here. So let me hide and show you what are those things. Okay, so this is a fan, and this is the region from which it will suck in the air, and from this region it will release the air. So let us perform this study. For this study, we need to add flow simulation add-on. So you can see flow simulation is already added. I'll close this, and now I got flow simulation command manager tab. So the first thing you need to do before the study is run the wizard. So in wizard, first you need to name the project. Okay, next you need to define the unit system. Okay, here let me make some small changes. Pressure I like in bar, and temperature I like it with Celsius. Okay, I'll move forward, and the conditions, whatever you're performing, you're doing internal or external flow. So based on that heat condition, I want heat condition in my solids and gravity. So I'll move forward. Okay, so what are the fluids which are going to be in this? Okay, so you can go down water, but this is a PCB, we need to give air. We can add it. Okay, next. Okay, next to solid material. So I've already applied a material over here. Just close this. So here there is already a study which I have already created. So the main thing over here is we need to select the components and give it the thermal value, what is the heat dissipated. Okay, I will give it in watts. Okay, so before this you can see, right click and so you can see these two things, front and back. I have given material, stainless steel material, and aluminium for the heat sinks. Okay, aluminium for the heat sinks, and these things over here also I have given aluminium, and silicon for these transistors and resistors over here. Okay, these things. Okay, I have given material for them. Insulators for rest of the things. So the reason I gave insulators because I don't want the thermal things to affect these components. That is the reason why I have given insulators over here. I forgot to include this wire also. I'll just edit the definition and select this wire as well. Okay. You can see we have so many materials. You can apply whatever material you want. Finally, for the transformers, I have given copper material, and for PCB we have 4 layers PCB. We have actually different layers of PCB: 12 layers PCB, 4 layers, 8 layers PCB. So I've selected 4 layers PCB, and because it is PCB, it is not an isotropic material, which is not uniform. It is an anisotropic material. That is the reason why I have given the heat transfer should take place in this direction. Okay, in Z direction, the heat transfer should takes place uniformly. So I'll click OK. So after you give the materials to each and everything in your study, you need to specify the boundary conditions. So as I know that from this region air should come in, and external air will be at atmospheric pressure. So the boundary condition I have given here is atmospheric pressure, that is environmental pressure. Okay, environmental pressure, and click OK. These are the values, thermodynamic parameters over here. Okay, and this fan. So here, if I edit this fan, you can see I have selected this face. So initially you have seen that there is a this fan is closed. Actually, I have created a lid. So before doing anything, you need to close these regions actually. Okay, so let me close it and show you. These are unhide this. Okay, now you can see these things are closed. So this is an internal flow, no? So again, I'll go to the flow wizard. Here there is a fan. I have selected that face, and here there are various methods in which you can define a fan. So I have selected under axial fans, PAPST, DC fans, series number 400F, 405F here. So if you want to see the specification of fan, how it is defined, you click create edit. So the specifications of the fan is this. There is a graph over here giving the difference between the volume flow rate and the pressure difference. So if you want your own type of fan, you can input your own values here. Okay, so I'll click OK. So once I have set up the boundary conditions, the solid materials and the fan, I need to tell SolidWorks what are the components which are emitting heat. Okay, so you can see this component over here, I have given 10 watts of here. So watts is the units of thermal what we say heat release. Okay, thermal heat release unit. Okay, SI units will be joules actually. So we have watts. So for these two things which are below the heat sink. So as we all know that heat sink's primary use is to remove the heat from the region. So this is the main component which is emitting heat, and heat sink's responsibility is to increase the thermal space with more area, and with the airflow the temperature will be reduced down. Okay, so these two things are also having 10 watts. I've given 10 watts for them, and for the two transformers we have 4 watts. Okay, for two transformers 4 watts is dissipating. You can see heat generation rate. Okay, heat generation rate. And for these things over here I have given 5 watts each. Now okay, I have given the heat sources also. After giving the heat source, there are goals. So goals, we can just right click and insert various types of goals: global goals, point goals, surveys, and volume goals. So in volume and goals, let me expand it a little bit. And my goal is, we insert a new volume goal. So here my goal is these two components maximum temperature. Okay, here you can see maximum, but if I go down here, temperature of the solid. Okay, I'll select this, and on the right side you can see use for convergence. So the temperature of the solid which I have selected here will act as a convergence at the time of solving the study. So if it is converged only, the study will be completed. If not, the study will be interrupted. Okay, the analysis will be interrupted. That is a condition. If I check mark over here, use convergence control. Okay, click OK. Now once given the goals, everything is done. Now we need to run the study. Okay, run. You can enlarge this a little bit. So down in this window down, you can see preparing model. So there it will be displayed finished. You have to wait for a little moment. You can see the calculation. So we'll go back to this presentation. So here our actual goal is 105 degrees Celsius. The heat sink should be like that, dissipating only below 105 degrees Celsius. So we'll see which design is better, 1 fans or 2 fans. So there are different variations we have experimented on. So these are the variations of heat sinks. So these are the 3 variations of heat sinks. So the results for the 1 fan and this type of heat sink is very high, 117 degrees Celsius, but it should be within 105 degrees Celsius. So clearly 1 fan design with that type of heat sink is not suitable. So with 1 fan and a little bit slightly change in the heat sink, this type of heat sink, we have observed that the results are 104 degrees Celsius. So hence we conclude that 1 fan is enough for the suitable cooling for this. Okay, so that is the end, and we came to a conclusion that we have designed a better cooling system with this result.